Hi, I'm Christina.
And I'm Renee.
And we are coming to you today from our Park and Oak studio kitchen.
So this week we got a lot of questions, and a lot of them had to do with kitchens. So we decided to film in our display kitchen here that we have in our new showroom.
One of the reasons that we chose to put one of the display kitchens into our new showroom was because that so many of our projects that we work on include either kitchen remodel or new kitchen altogether, and it's really helpful to be able to stand in a space and utilize the kitchen to show different examples of either mixing metals or materials or drawer inserts.
By bold, if that means unique, that's what we're always looking to do, is to create unique details that sometimes people are nervous about when we show it to them on the design boards, but you don't want your kitchen to look like anyone else's.
It's those details that are most frightening often for clients in the beginning, end up being their favorite feature at the end of the project that they just love, because especially when you have a kitchen like the one we have here that is, I would say, pretty neutral, and then you have these bold elements like the pendants that we have hanging that add like a striking contrast, which is what we're always looking to do, is balance like the neutral with a contrast that also is a neutral but makes a bit more of a statement.
We don't want everything to look the same in a kitchen. We're always trying to break things up, so it's not all one color with one counter. It's nice to incorporate different details so the kitchen blends in with the rest of the home. We might have, I don't know if you can see behind us, but a wood cabinet next to neutral colored cabinets. And then have a dark counter like we have here, which is soapstone, and then marble on the perimeter.
If you're trying to identify where do you utilize two different countertops, perhaps consider using one material on the perimeter and then a different material on the island. Another way, and some other things that we have done, is we've used a material on the perimeter and then a different material on the island, but then the perimeter backsplash is the same as the island. So then there's continuity and connection. And then also we try to blend, we talk about this often, like the warm with the cool. So if it's a cooler counter, you know, a warmer paint, or vice versa or something.
In almost every home there's a breakfast nook or a dining table close by, but then you have to coordinate so they don't, again, look very similar, but they contrast enough that they coordinate.
Yeah, I think it becomes trickier when there's two islands, and that often becomes a time where we think to either pause on one of the islands and not hang pendants down, because it visually becomes very noisy when you have two islands with pendants and a breakfast nook. But then sometimes, depending on the type of pendant that is hanging, if it's more of a linear or cleaner over the islands, we could repeat those, and then, to Renee's point, intentionally make the breakfast nook different.
Always trying to balance the textures too. So it's not too much brass, too much silver, or if it's like a woven pendant, that they're not all the same.
Absolutely. You should definitely go all the way to the ceiling, especially if you have 9-foot ceilings. It's
always with 9 feet.
It's actually better too.
Yeah, it's wasted space if you don't too, for storage.
9 foot is like ideal for like between 9 and less than 10 for kitchen ceilings, just because you want the uppers to go to the ceiling, but you don't want it to be so massive that you're never going to reach the top.
So sometimes we have cabinetry that's resting on a counter or its own cabinet like this that feels like furniture, so it doesn't have to go all the way up to the ceiling.
Oftentimes if the ceiling is extraordinarily high, then
these are like 20 feet.
It's great to incorporate some sort of ceiling detail as well, so that is taking up that visual space and then doesn't feel like the cabinets are just hanging in no man's zone. Renee feels very passionate about wood and wood species.
I do, because
colors.
it's very important. You have to have the right grain and the right color tone, and they all have to coordinate together. You don't want your floor to match a wood island. You want to make sure that if you are using different types of wood in a kitchen, that the color tones coordinate as well. When we work with our clients, we lay out a whole palette of materials and make sure that the wood tones coordinate with the cabinet color and everything looks really good together, including the floor color as well. But all of those factors need to be considered if you're mixing different types of wood in a kitchen.
I feel like oftentimes people have a strong opinion about what color floor they want. So that's a great springboard for if you know that you want lighter floors or if you know you want darker floors, then we go in a direction for the kitchen accordingly.
Yeah, I think if you have the same color floor as you do island, and then you're mixing all the wood where they're all too similar, then and it's not broken up visually when you look at it, then that can look uncomfortable as well.
The natural tendency is to be matchy-matchy, and that's even with furniture. Oftentimes people will even think like, oh, I need the same sofa or that match with the same chairs. To make it interesting and to make it feel really unique, it's the combination of different materials and different elements. An easy thing to help a kitchen feel more cohesive that is not a massive upgrade is just even getting a panel-ready dishwasher or refrigerator, because oftentimes, the thought is that you have to have, even if you have a stainless refrigerator, but you have a panel-ready dishwasher, then that doesn't break up the cabinets on the lower side, which is really nice, and it's an easy upgrade.
A not so easy upgrade would be the cabinetry, because that is the most important thing in the kitchen that is going to determine the overall quality and feel of the kitchen. So it's important to look into the cabinets and make sure that they are high quality, and that is where you should invest.
Yeah, I think the other thing that people underestimate is lighting. It can change the entire space, and just getting a quality light fixture that has an interesting detail or the finish on it is really important.
When you mix metals, you tend to have a more timeless, classic look versus using all of the same of one color that might be in style. And right now, people love brass. So if everything is brass, then it's going to end up looking trendier and could look dated in a few years.
We often encourage clients, if they are doing heavy on brass hardware or brass lighting or in that color tone, to choose a polished nickel fixture versus a chrome, if that is something that they're interested in, for a silver look for their plumbing, because polished nickel has a warm undertone, like a gold yellow undertone to it, whereas chrome has a blue undertone to it, and so it just lends itself to mixing better and more easily with brass tones. There's so many options with range hoods, and the easy default is to just have it blend with all the cabinets. But we like to think outside the box and try to create a unique element at the range.
We might put a piece of marble on it, wood,
plaster.
It might be the shape that it is that's unique, but that's a big opportunity to set the kitchen apart.
So we always talk about allowing a room to have breathing space, and whether it be a moment for art or a moment for open shelves or no upper cabinets in that space, just a moment to take a breath in the space and not have visual noise. Then it does the opposite of what you would imagine it does, but it enhances the space. I think it's great. It's classic. But also, I would lean into, it depends on the style of your home.
I love tile in kitchens because it is very functional. There's a lot of water in there, and most people just have wood in the kitchens now. But it's another opportunity to do something unique that not everybody has.
Oh, there's lots of interesting galley kitchens. I think that's where you have to really focus on your hardware selections, your edge detail or profile on your countertops, having a great vintage runner or rug in the space, maybe some artwork.
Each space is so unique, and we're always looking for solutions to challenges or the fact that there's no windows. We have here in the back of our showroom, we have our kitchen, and our solution was to use antique mirror on cabinetry. It's reflective, so it kind of tricks your mind into thinking like it has the same feel as maybe a window, and then it reflects the light from the front of the studio. But that's very specific to our showroom. And we find that in a lot of older homes, there's a lot of challenging elements that are there that we have to work around.
I think the benefit you get from working with a designer, especially one that's a bit seasoned, is that they've had lots of experience with multiple kitchens and multiple conditions. The goal, especially when we're working on kitchens or even homes, because we are a collaborative studio, so it's not just one person looking at your project, it's a collective that's looking at your project, and so the best ideas come from that.
We like to balance modern and traditional, so we do use a lot of either antiques in a kitchen or antique-inspired pieces in a kitchen, because it adds warmth and layers to it and character.
We definitely look to antique pieces, even looking at an island, like looking at the legs of an old table or the poles on a chest, and how do we incorporate those into a kitchen or even bathrooms often.
And it could even be the trim in a room. So in a couple kitchens we did wood trim on either side of the range, and that it adds something unexpected, and it looked like the trim had been there for 100 years, but it was actually new.
Our goal is to make sure that the kitchen is a place that's not only functional for cooking, but comfortable for hanging out in. So, we try to create these nooks where it's like got a banquette, and it's a really comfortable banquette because people are sitting there for hours while other people are, either talking and cooking.
Or it's lounge furniture in the kitchen.
Right, or the counter stools, highly important. Not only do they have to be durable, but also functional, because you're sitting there for a long time, and just how is the cook or the people prepping or cleaning also involved in hanging out and having fun.
We want it to be an experience in the kitchen, and it's a mood and a feeling, and you want people to come in and congregate and have conversations and stay for a while. So what people are always surprised about is that last step of the accessories in the kitchen. So it might be just a tiny piece of art leaning up against the wall, or it could just be a pitcher or a small lamp or cookbooks or whatever it is, that when we come in and style the kitchen, it feels so much cozier.
Yeah, like just last week we were in New York styling and finishing off a project that we had done and styling their kitchen. And the kitchen's gorgeous and beautiful by itself, but when the homeowners came home and they saw how it was styled, they were literally almost brought to tears, blown away, because it just took it to the next level for them, and that was something that they didn't expect, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it makes a big, huge impact.
So the lighting of a kitchen, not only in the fixtures themselves, but the location of the lighting is really important. So you might have two pendants. It's nice to have sconces on the walls, tiny lamps, and lighting coming from all directions instead of just really bright overhead cans, because that really sets the mood in a kitchen. And then it's nice to put the overhead lighting on a dimmer and then turn everything else on at night.
Thanks for joining us.
Next time we'll be talking about bathrooms. So if you have any questions, contact us on Instagram and let us know.